This is HBR News number 457. What is Hagmaxxing? Baking cakes with tears for clout, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your hopefully almost completely recovered host, Brian Martinez, and I'm joined by, as always, the stalwart Hannah Wallen. And Mike will be back next week, so you will have a trio, at least, if not maybe all four of us again. So we have a great show lined up for you guys this week, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News, we're going to be talking about the latest regarding Alec Baldwin's case. Gen Z's newest term just dropped. It's called Hagmaxxing. We're going to look at that a little bit. A woman had gone viral on the internet baking cupcakes while crying tears of suffering and pain and woe, and that has kind of divided the internet in a conversation and more. So stick around, it's going to be a good time, and be sure to join us afterwards for the patron only show. So first of all, kind of a slow news week. There was like a terrible natural disaster in Papua New Guinea, like a massive rock slide that I think like thousands of people were buried alive, and it's very awful. But that I just learned about this morning, and so aside from that, which is big news, and we could touch on that, there isn't much going on, so these are kind of light this week. I hope you guys are okay with a lighter news week. I know I am, since everything is so like, you know, I don't know, like dire all the time. But for the patron show, I'm gonna give the patrons a choice. So we're gonna do a dealer's choice, or guest choice, whatever you want to call it. It's either we're going to look at a cringe article by a feminist. I have a couple in mind. One is the one that I'm displaying right now, which is entitled "How the Romantic Institution Props Up a Racialized Dating Landscape." So it doesn't get much more intersectional than that. Romantic relationships is racist, I guess, and sexist, obviously. But I also have other ones. There is an article that I will be bringing up a little bit later. It's called "Feminism Isn't Much Use When It Leaves Midlife Women Single and Depressed." You have a point, but you know, that is true. You got a point. And I also have a couple of other ones. Like there's one called "Men Get Therapy, Not a Younger Girlfriend," by, I don't know if you remember her name. But she was also she basically made this article kind of like talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. Do you guys remember Kate Moran? Vaguely. Yeah, she wrote, I think she wrote a book about men or something. It's Kate Moran. She wrote that book about men, but it's basically like a feminist book about men.
You know, and it's just a dumb thing anyway. Like the idea that an age different matters that much after you're adults only applies.
Caitlin Moran, that's right. Yeah, it's Caitlin Moran wrote this article.
She's basically just admitting again that she's sexist.
Yeah. And of course it's funny because this "Men Get Therapy, Not a Younger Girlfriend" thing kind of goes reverse on the Hagmaxxing, which is one of the stories we're going to be covering today on the show. But we can either do that, or we can go through some of the wondrous clips that Riverside has found for us in the last couple of live streams that Allison and I did. So I'll let you guys as patrons can think that over. We can go through a cringe article and like try to save our souls from falling into the black hole that is feminist theory, which I put in quotes. Think this will have to do, and I'll just put, let me see, I have this, so we'll just put you guys back on the screen. Wait, why is there no image? Hold on. Okay, so it crashed. Technical difficulties time. They're back. Oh, we are back. Okay. So there was an issue. Unfortunately, the vertical's not going out. There was an issue with the stream. But we are back, but we're not going to be able to put the cartoons up. So it's just going to be us talking over this. It's probably an issue with one of my plugins that's causing OBS to crash. And so I'm running it in safe mode right now so that we can still do everything as we're supposed to. So no, I'm sorry guys for the inconvenience. I will have to figure this out. I don't know what this involves, but maybe I have to like remove my plugins and put them back in. I don't know. So, but you guys can listen, and that's the important thing. So anyway, sorry for vertical watchers. We're not gonna be able to stream to that. So anyway, as I was saying, we're gonna be getting into the topic. So if you want to join us, become a badger, go to feedthebadger.com, set up the monthly subscription. $5 a month to get you into the Discord where you will be able to be a part of the great community that we have there, as well as enjoy lots of other sort of like activities. There's always game nights, there's movie nights. I think on Tuesdays they do games, and it's often it's Cards Against Humanity. I don't usually do that.
On Tuesdays, it's always Cards Against Humanity. Okay, so they do Cards Against Humanity after the patron show. So if that's a great game. It's just that by the time I'm done with everything, I gotta go to sleep because I gotta get up early in the morning. So yeah, please consider becoming a part of that action. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, then go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com. That's where all of our content lives, or honeybadgerradio.com. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get into the stories. But first, I'm going to start with this one because this is a recent thing that I discovered that I did not put on in the show notes. So F House Bunny, or Men's Rights Bunny, who is very active men's issues advocate on Twitter. Please give her a follow. She is always fighting with feminists on Twitter, and it's kind of fun to watch. She has tweeted about, is it called tweeting? She posted about this tweet. I'm going to read it to you guys. Can you see this, Hannah, that I'm showing? Yeah. Can you see the screen? Okay. So she says, a disgusting Italian woman named Valeria Valente has called along with other radical feminists for this billboard to be taken down in Naples. Translated, the billboard says, quote, "Does violence always have the same sex?" as it shows a male cowering. "She is a disgrace. Us Romans never did like the Napolitans. Napolitans? I Napolitani erano sempre inditiero. A disgrace to Italian women. Disgrace." And she shares a picture. So these are like the images. This is a billboard. And it says, "The Italian city of Naples is at the center of a fierce debate as dozens of feminist groups demand the removal of this awareness-raising campaign featuring a male victim of abuse." And it says, translated, "Does the violence always have the same sex?" And in the next panel, it says, "An open letter to the mayor of Naples, signed by 30 feminist organizations, has demanded the campaign be removed." And this is the feminist argument. Quote, "We are negatively affected by the recent communication campaigns, which in a misleading manner tend to nullify the efforts made so far and those still to be done." End quote. And then there's other quotes, "A false representation of domestic violence. And it's an attack not only against women, but also against anti-violence centers. Valeria Valente, senator of the Democratic Party." Of course, this is in Italy. So I think that it's worth showing because it tells you a couple of things. One is that advocacy for men will be opposed by feminists on principle, because feminists need the narrative to be only about women. So when they say we care about men too, or feminism is for men too, they're lying. Okay, like this is just not true. It's not even about women at the end of the day, because if you care about domestic violence or sexual assault or whatever, you won't treat it like a gendered problem. You'll just treat it like a problem. And you look at the data honestly with integrity, and however it shakes out is how it shakes out. But feminist organizations, they're not women's advocacy groups. They are feminist organizations. Their primary concern is power and money. That's it. Mostly power, though. Mostly it's about controlling
the narrative to control behaviors. They don't even really care about female victims, because if you care about domestic violence, you care about it in the universal, right? Like which couples have the highest rates of domestic violence? It's lesbian couples, right? So they don't care about those things. They just want to maintain a certain narrative. Okay, Alice. I mean, Hannah, you can say whatever you want to say about this.
There's a whole bunch of things going on here. Like, first of all, a lot of this is just as much about the money as you think. Like,
yeah,
these organizations, and this started out with, you know, a small group of women figuring out that if people believe women are in danger and people believe women are suffering, they will throw every extra penny they have into fixing the problem. They won't care to find out if it's actually being done. They will just throw money at organizations that say that they are helping women. And they don't need even testimonials or anything like that. Just, oh, well, you're helping women? Here, take all my money. Right? That's the way they started out, with basically stealing the shelter movement from Aaron Pitsey. Right? And this is not something that's contestable. It was done. It's documented historically. So anybody that, you know, that's hate listening, that wants to contest that in the chat can go screw yourselves, because it's all over the internet. It's you look like an idiot when you say it's not what happened. But that's one thing. All right. But there is another thing going on here. The type of women that become feminist activists are abusive people. They are not, like, when you look at the percentage of the population that is not abusive, that's the normal percentage. It's the largest percentage of people. They don't act like that. They don't try to keep other people down in order to elevate themselves and so on, right? So the minority of the population that gets involved in feminism and other cry bullying movements are bullies by nature. They are abusive by nature. They don't just want to help women. They want to hurt men in the process. And so they don't want men to get any help, because that's the opposite of hurting men, right? And then the other thing is, they know that if women are held accountable for being abusive, if women are held accountable for acting violent, if women are held accountable under the standards regarding emotional abuse that feminists have fought for men to be held accountable under, then feminists will end up going to jail in response to their behavior in their relationships with the men in their lives, because that's the way they behave. They are the people who engage in things like pouring boiling water on your spouse, or nagging your spouse into committing suicide, or haranguing him and cornering him and poking fingers into his chest and smacking and punching and kicking until he finally hits back, and then lying to the cops and saying that he attacked her and sending him to jail. They're not wanting anything to be done for men who are abused by women, because they are the perpetrators.
Yeah.
And you can guarantee, if there's a woman out there, you see a woman out there who is objecting to consideration for abuse victims on the basis of their sex, on the basis of the sex of the perpetrator especially, it's because she is an abuser. It is because she is a perpetrator. So, I would hate to see what
that is a fair assessment.
Home.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that wasn't really a planned story, but I thought I would get it out of the way because I thought it was important. So we're going to move on to the next one. But before we do, I do have some super chows to look at. So kind of like doing this a different way than I usually do, because I don't have all of the tools at my disposal. But I will put a Badger Chan on the screen because I can do that. And I got some from like earlier, so I'm going to read those out right now because I don't want to miss them. So Richard Bier gave us $5. Thank you, Richard, and says, have you heard about the CEO of Cracker Barrel who girl bossed too close to the sun and tanked the value of the stock in the earnings call? Apparently, she thought that their image wasn't relevant to the current market or something like that.
I like Cracker Barrel. I haven't been there very much, but they're
ruin my pancakes.
Yeah, I like Cracker Barrel. It's good. I guess what she means by that is it's too Midwest. It's too flyover country because it is it is a very Midwest thing. But like that's kind of like the appeal.
The whole I don't know style of that restaurant is Midwest. It's you go in and you're in an old country store. Like it's got clothes and candy and gadgets and stuff like that, but it's set up to look like the old country. There used to be another name for it, but you'd walk in. It looked out like something at a Little House on the Prairie, right? Where the Olson's store, where you go in and there's a counter and there's the one room and everything is wooden. The shelves are wooden. The racks are wooden. Not all the racks are wooden anymore. You pull up to the store and in front of the store are a bunch of handmade rocking chairs. And I don't know if they're still handmade. They're probably machine made now, but they're for sale, but people always sit in them while they're waiting to get in. And the food is always really good. It's always been a really nice place to go and a nice place to eat. The decor is it's one of those restaurants that the decor is old ads and old signs for farming equipment and supplies and stuff like that. And you can see, old types of farming equipment and supplies. You might be in there and even see a butter churn, and it's just cool. And you add a couple of puzzles sitting at the table for the kids to play with. I don't even know if they ever had crayons because it was always little puzzles and stuff. Like you could buy those puzzles in the store. So it was a neat place to go. It was a neat place to take your family. And their pancakes were better than the places that had made themselves famous for things like pancakes,
like IHOP
and stuff like that. The Perkins was another one famous for its pancakes, right? But Cracker Barrel was better. Cracker Barrel was better. They had better biscuits than Bob Evans. Like Bob Evans really has gone downhill too with their
Slob Evans.
Yeah.
Down on your mom.
Oh God. That's awful. But, I love it. Yeah, it just the restaurant didn't need any help drawing in a customer base. There wasn't something new they needed to do or different that they needed to do to get people to come in and eat food there, because everybody knew how good the food was and how much fun it was to go there. There was candy that you could get there that you couldn't get anywhere else. There were neat, souvenirs that you could get there that you couldn't get anywhere else. And as she started going down the die road, right? And she kills that business. I'm going to be mad. We don't go out to eat much. But that's one place that if I'm going to cheat on the diet, that's the place to go.
Yeah. Cracker Barrel, I've been there only a couple of times because, they don't have them in Chicago. But when we would go to Gen Con every summer, or when I drove out to visit you in Ohio, I would stop at the Cracker Barrel because it was like there were none in Chicago, none. Yeah. And it's sometimes I wonder if there isn't more stigma against Midwestern people than there are Southern people even. Because the South gets a lot of shit all the time, right? But I noticed after living in the South, that I feel like the people who live in the Midwest and flyover country, I think that in a way they get it worse, but I don't know. They're treated like hicks, but I think it's worse than that from the coastal elite types specifically.
Yeah, we get treated that way partly because they're mad that we do well without following their rules. You don't have to, and the thing is, they can't really point to a lot of things as good reasons for why they hate that. They hate people being down to earth. They hate people growing their own food in their own gardens. They hate people going to church every Sunday. They hate all of that stuff. They hate everything to do with Midwest. They hate football. They hate American football. Right? That's a big one.
Pro wrestling.
You know,
Monster truck rallies.
you refer to somebody as, you know, one of the
Water parks.
corn-fed farm boys.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are in the country, it can be a compliment or a pejorative, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you refer to somebody as a juggalo, depending on where you are in the country, that means you're part of the group. You know, everybody starts going gooba gaba, or it's a pejorative or an accusation.
Yeah.
I have actually shocked the shit out of people. They'll accuse me of being one of those, you know, redneck, blah blah blah, this that, juggalo Michiganders, and I'm like, I'm Ohio, but you know, that doesn't mean I'm not a juggalo.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Oh, we got, there's definitely
around here-
juggalos. Yeah.
Everybody from around here, right, likes the music, likes the culture, likes the fun, the videos, everything about it. So it's not, I mean, and it's a bonding thing, and it bugs the hell out of them. Man, ICP fan, Insane Clown Posse. Just not a huge one, so don't ask me to go naming all their songs. But if you were to look at my playlist, no, not a gigolo, very much not the same thing.
No, not a gigolo, a juggalo.
Sometimes, just depending on who you talk to, and how much extra money you got. But no, they don't like the fact that there's a unity among country bumpkins. They don't like the fact that we don't even all know each other, but we're a family.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That bugs the hell out of them.
Yeah, it's the idea of unity, basically. So that was the super chat from Richard Pierre from before. Then we got another one. Thank you, Anonymous, for $25. Really appreciate it. And Anonymous says, I'd love to see Brian or Hannah debate, not interview, former guests who have proven to be no different than feminists and recoil if others criticize women. Sydney Watson, Lauren Southern, Lauren Chen, Natty, former MRA. Chen seems to be the only one who's open-minded, and the first two were too chicken to debate Pearl. A debate with Pearl or Andrew Wilson would be interesting, even if you have similar views.
Yeah, here's the thing, that you would have to find something for me to disagree with as far as Pearl. And so far, people have thrown some things at me, and I've looked at them and not really had any disagreement.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm sure she said something.
Well,
like, nobody's completely in lockstep with a stranger, right? There has to
be
something. Now,
well, the thing is, go ahead, Han. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As far as some of those ladies would not come on and debate us. That's just a fact. They're not going to do that. All right. And some of them will not accept the format. I like a print format for debate because I like to be able to show and not just tell. And I also like to not have the person that I'm debating with talk over me. And one of the things that I've noticed is, because when I make an argument, it's a sandwich every time. All right. I sandwich the argument between bits of evidence and specificity for the argument, because I like to make it as airtight as possible, so I don't leave room for people to pry under with misinterpretations or straw man arguments or anything like that. And when I do that, I'll get the first sentence out, or I'll get maybe half the statement out, and somebody will jump in and start arguing with something they want to nitpick about the part that I've said so far, and they'll tear the conversation off on a tangent in a different direction from where I was going with what I was going to say, and I'll never get back to the thing that I was going to say. So I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
But I've had numerous rather long arguments with Natty on Twitter, and ended up ultimately having to block her because I couldn't have conversations with other people about things that were not the targets that I was arguing with Natty about, and not have Natty come in and interrupt that conversation with what she wanted to talk about and completely derail it and make it about the other thing. So we might be talking about anything from the history of suffrage to the history of, domestic violence, victims advocacy, and law and policy and everything. And Natty comes in with Project 2025, which she's panicked about for some reason because Republicans in the United States, which makes no sense to me since she's in the UK.
Yeah, I think she's got bigger problems.
Be gone. Yes.
Yeah.
But that whole conversation would be gone because now it's all about this 2025 thing and the Christian Illuminati.
Essentially, yeah. The fundamentalist
church Christian.
The fundamentalist Illuminati, yeah.
And I just.
I'm not even sure if it's the non-Orthodox thing because one of the people that she opposes on Twitter is also an Orthodox Christian.
Wow. Okay.
Right, or at least claims to be. And well, I'll let you finish before I say my piece about that.
What ends up happening is there's no debate to be had because you make a point, you explain your position, you give evidence, you describe what's going on, and these women will refer to thoughts, feelings, fears in particular, and conjecture around things that have been said by other people but aren't actually solid evidence. This guy says he thinks this should happen, therefore this is going to happen. Well, that's not how it works.
Right.
We all know that's not how it works. That's why rape threats on the internet aren't scary unless the person knows where you live and has demonstrated that they're going to come find you.
Right.
Right. But that's, yeah. So I would, out of all the people named right now, I would love to have a conversation with Pearl. But I don't know that it would be so much a debate. I'm interested in what she thinks.
Yeah. So
the same.
Yeah. Well, they didn't actually request Pearl. They said Sydney Watson, Lauren Southern, Lauren Chen, Natty, and then said the first two were too chicken to debate Pearl because Pearl's constantly putting out challenges to debate people. I think the last time I saw her challenge someone, it was it might have been Lauren Southern, but I don't remember. So my thinking is that with Pearl. Because I saw people in the chat talking about how Aiden Paladin is kind of like fighting with Pearl online. And I think what people might not quite get is that Pearl says a lot of stuff that sounds really like abrasive or offensive or scary. But remember, what I think she's doing is she is putting out almost absurd statements, not always, but almost absurd statements to get people talking about the issue. And I think that is I'm not saying that she's doing this consciously. I don't know that she's a great debater, but she gets people discussing the topic because she is able to freely say it, like saying things about men's issues that most people don't have the balls to say. And I gotta say this in defense of Pearl. I know people don't like her, but you gotta hear me out, guys. Pearl is only saying the same things that people like us, like Paul, like Kevin Samuels, especially Kevin Samuels, has been saying for a very long time. But no one listened to Kevin Samuels. Nobody's listening to us. Nobody listens to Paul. Nobody listens to Janice Fiamengo. No one listens to Karen anymore because Karen doesn't put out content anymore. But by and large, they don't listen to her. Like, none of the people who have been doing this for a very long time get the platform. They don't get the attention, but Pearl does. And you know why Pearl does? Because partly she's being like intentionally let's say, I don't want to say obnoxious, but she's being really, she's being intentionally inflammatory, and it helps that she is a young woman, okay? Because literally Kevin Samuels was saying the exact same shit and nobody knew who he was. He did not make it on the big screen. And I know part of this too, by the way, has to do with the fact that he's black, because they would have to treat that with more care, because we're dealing with people that have an intersectionalist mindset. So when they see a black man talking about relationship issues and they know they don't want to address it, they're just going to ignore him. But when a white woman starts saying it, because she's white, they can talk about it. But because she's a woman, people can't ignore it. So there is this, definitely the gender plays a role, okay? Yeah. And the race does too in another way. So all I'm saying is that
something else too. When we first started getting well known in the men's rights movement, a lot of the reason that we and other MRAs became well known in the mainstream for what we were doing was because Paul Elam did that. Right?
Yeah.
Paul Elam
Right. No, that's how Paul
made
got
it a point to get
Yes.
under people's skin. You get in
Yes.
people's ears by getting under
Yes.
people's skin. And there's an article that he wrote that was satire that gets used by feminists all the time. They try to portray it as serious, and they're mad now because they can't link to it with claims that it's not satire because it says at the top of the article that it's satire because feminists are too stupid to understand satire. Now, so they gave him an excuse to call him stupid. But
Yeah. It's exactly right. I mean, well,
that made the article.
it was Jezebel. It was Jezebel. It was Jezebel. Yeah.
About women.
Have you ever beat up your boyfriend? We have, or something like that, right?
The title of it, that women admitting they beat up their boyfriends and laughing about it. And the thing, like when I read that article, if Paul hadn't done what he did, I would have probably written something blistering at the same time, because one of the women in that group of writers who wrote that she had hit her boyfriend hit him because he was scared because he thought he had breast cancer. And she just assumed that it was usurping women's experiences for him to be concerned about a legitimate health problem that does happen to men. And when it happens to men, it is often more deadly than when it happens to women, because men don't look for it, men don't detect it, and it progresses faster when it happens to men. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And so she just assumed, that he was being a asshole for worrying about having breast cancer, and she hit him, and she thought that was funny, and she thought it was something to brag to her readers about.
Yeah.
So I don't fault Paul for getting pissed off about that. I fault
No, of
feminists
course.
for defending it, right?
Yes.
But that's what got people. There are people that don't know anything about the men's rights movement, that don't know anything about the law and policy and stuff that we talk about, any of the things that have been going on in the background, any of the changes that the National Coalition for Men has fought for and won. They don't know any of that stuff, but they do know that women usually hit first in a domestic violence relationship. And I've run into people that know that, and they don't even know why. I've run into people that know, even though they don't know why, they know that more men commit suicide than women do. And they know that men are less likely to get help when they are suffering from a mental health condition, right? And they don't know that the reason that they know that is because that information has been spread by the men's rights movement, that there are writers in the mainstream media that have had to address those issues because MRAs brought them up, and people like Paul Elam got under people's skin so much that they had to try to control the narrative, and they had to talk about those things, even though they didn't want to, even though they wanted to sweep it under the rug, even though they didn't want there to be a movement for helping men who are victims of female perpetrators of domestic violence. The toxic masculinity narrative was just in academia until the men's rights movement, and again, mostly Paul Elam, got super inflammatory about these things, and people had to start talking about it. You didn't hear toxic masculinity before like 2012, 2013 in mainstream media. You definitely didn't hear about it before 2010, and you didn't hear much about it before 2014, right?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it's a mainstream term. Everybody hears it, everybody knows it, because they had to pull it out of academia, where it had been stagnating for years, because inflammatory works.
Yeah. So, and I was just saying that it works for Pearl as well. And a lot of the reason why she picks up more traction than Paul did is because she's a woman. I think that she knows on some level that gynocentrism is working in her favor on social media, because people are forced to pay attention. And I think that women like Sydney Watson and Lauren Southern are getting pissed off because But ultimately, it comes down to they don't like her tone. That's the thing about what I've noticed with women that are in the space, especially if you're talking about gender relations and men's issues, is that men's anger and like people who are angry about like the way men are treated and talked about. If you can ask, you can look at Allison's Twitter, you can look at Hannah's Twitter, but also like just, you know, Pearl's as well. A lot of it comes down to the women don't like, it's not that they don't agree with what's being said, because they don't know what's being said. They're not looking at the data. They're not actually trying to figure out if any of this is true. They're just angry about the fact that it's being said, and especially the way it's being said. And so you get into this thing, like I watched this debate, it was a debate, it was a discussion, whatever, on Timcast, on Tenet Media. It was Tim Pool was hosting it, and it was Lauren Chen, Pearl Davis, Rachel Wilson, who is Andrew Wilson's wife, and I have her book, Occult Feminism, and there's another woman, I can't remember her name, and I apologize. And they were essentially like getting into like the really, you know, like in depth. Whenever they started to get in depth, Pearl would say something inflammatory, and I know that she does this on purpose, and then Lauren Chen would like tone police her. And so it became like a whole like, well, I wouldn't say it that way, you know, like, you know what I mean? And so the problem with that is that it's just not the way that it's not really a good way to communicate, because you don't get to the root of the problem if everyone's concerned about how the way somebody said something makes somebody feel, and you never get to the root of the issue. And so this works in her favor. Now, again, if you don't like her, whatever, and I'm not saying that we should protect her or whatever, but I'm explaining to you why she's big, because she's not a great debater. She doesn't always have all the information available. She's not like Janice, who's like a walking encyclopedia, right? But she is able to get attention on the issues. And I think that if you look at it like, you know, if you're looking at it like you're playing an MMO or something, and you need like a tank that's gonna pull, you know, the enemy so you don't like get swarmed by too many at once. And so in your party, you have to have like one guy who's the tank, who's the person who draws attention to himself, and then the others have a role to play in like defeating the enemy. Pearl is like that. Karen was like that too before. She would like say inflammatory shit. She's just really tired and, you know, old now, so she's not doing it as much. So it's the same purpose, right? And I think it's a net positive, because even if she isn't really great at the debating or whatever, she is starting the conversation, and I'm seeing more and more people having that conversation, even if we aren't a part of it. I even saw like this one chick, she proved my point on Twitter. She was saying something about how like the manosphere has changed, because back in the day it was like, you know, people were more rational, and now they're just kind of angry. And I knew she was talking about Pearl without saying, like, it was this weird feminine like talk around it, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna talk about Pearl and Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit without talking about them, right? I'm just gonna imply who I'm talking about. And I said to her, well, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years, but apparently I don't get promoted by the algorithm. Like, our channel doesn't get promoted by the algorithm. We don't get noticed by anybody. And she's like, well, they still represent you. And I'm like, no, actually, you know who I am. You could watch our content and you could talk about us and you could talk to us, or you could just focus on the people that satisfy your cartoonist straw man. And that's what she was doing, because she was a feminist. So like, it's like on some level, you have to understand that the people that are in our way have no interest in actually addressing us directly. So you're gonna need somebody like Paul and Pearl who are just going to ridicule the shit out of them while other people have the conversation. I'd like to be the one to have that conversation, but I can't if no one knows who we are, because the algorithm, it suppresses us and it promotes the cartoonist straw men. And you know what? I mean, I don't know what we can do about that. It's not in my control, you know? So, yeah, I mean, and look,
thinking about doing. I still don't trust TikTok, but I might get a device.
Could be a way to get in there.
I'm going to use with anything else, and then take it to McDonald's and upload stuff. Like, that's one platform where we haven't been suppressed. So there's
that's true. That's true. Also, I think that well, Twitter is a lot better for us now. So, you know, Allison gets a lot of traction on Twitter. Well, you are, that's true.
I'm still getting. In fact, I've had people actually tell me. I'm getting deboosted on Twitter. And
Mhm.
I contacted Twitter support about it. And I was like, yeah, you still have some algorithms that are deboosting people because one of them's affecting me. And the sites that track it are my followers who are having trouble seeing my stuff. They're telling me about it. And they're like, oh, it's the quality of your content. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I have people telling me they are trying to see my stuff and they can't. And they have to come to my profile and look at it. And they're testing it with these deboosting sites that, are these deboosting detectors. And they're seeing that, yes, it is still being deboosted. And they're like, oh, no, they're just not looking at your stuff. You shouldn't have asked them. Well, I didn't ask. These are people that have contacted me unsolicited to say this is going on with you. And then there are some people that are telling me they can't, like if they mention my name at handle, it doesn't autocomplete. It doesn't, like when you mention somebody's handle, you type the whole thing out and everything, even if it doesn't autocomplete, as long as you get it right, it shows up blue as blank instead of black as plain text. So people are telling me that it's coming up black, and so that is.
I know yours doesn't. When I try to, when I try to tag you and stuff, I have to type out more of your name in order for it to like find it. But it used to not find it at all, but now it's starting to. But I have to type in at least 4 letters before it brings it up. So.
Yep. And I've found that there have been times that, like, if I want to go back and there's a tweet that I've, I want to reference that conversation and I can remember something I said in it verbatim, which I can do a lot of the time, actually. I'll go back and find my tweet, and then from there I'll find the tweet that I'm looking for. And sometimes my tweets won't come up in searches, even when I'm the one looking for them. So we're still deboosted on Twitter. It's still, when I talk about that in HBR talk at the beginning and every spiel, to you guys got to go pay attention to Badger Feed. It's because there is not a social media site that we can fully trust to not deboost us, to not shadow ban us or any of that. Left wing, right wing, free speech, none of that. They still look at people like us. All right, we're still the wrong thing boogeymen. If they are going to do it to anybody, they're going to do it to us.
Yeah. So as far as Sydney Watson, Lauren Southern, Lauren Chen, and Natty, all of them have been on our channel before. You can watch old interviews. I think that the Sydney Watson and Lauren Chen interviews that I did, Fireside Chats, have aged very well, because they were still sort of feminist, but although they wouldn't admit it at the time. And I think that at least Lauren Chen for sure is realizing it. Natty's character arc has certainly taken an unexpected turn, but there's not much I can do about that. I think that she's going through something personal, and I think it's being expressed on social media in this fear around Project 2025 and transhumanism and all this other stuff. I'm sorry, but I'm just not that afraid, so. Anyway, thank you for the super chow, Anonymous. Richard Bier gives us another one for $10. Thank you, Richard, and says, waiting for one of these woke CEO types to decide that Hooters and Twin Peaks needs to revamp their image by eliminating the tight tops for their waitresses. Well, let them go for it. I mean, I don't go to Hooters anyway. Maybe we'll win in the long run. Also, what about Kilted Tilt or what's the other one? Heart Attack Burger? Those are pretty sexual too. Kilted Kill has the girls in the kilts, like the schoolgirls, and then the burger place, they're all dressed like nurses. It's like there should be one where they're like nuns. Why haven't somebody done that? Anyway, go ahead.
That would be hilarious. But
it could be called Thighs Are My Religion.
Feminists have attacked Hooters for years. It's one of my favorite memes is the one with the protesters standing on the sidewalk out in front of Hooters with a sign that says women are not for decoration. And one of the Hooters chicks came up and stood in front of her, from the reading perspective. So anybody facing her, she's on her left. And the sign says, that's all she wrote. Some women are not for decoration.
Yeah.
She is you know, the angry feminist hasn't done anything to make herself look pretty, and the Hooters chick obviously has, and she is adorable. So there you go. Gin Bottle, yes, that was me.
All right, thank you for that, Richard Bier. Then we got one last one from Meredith G for $5, and she says HBR News 457, honey for the Badgers. Sorry I'm late. The reason they hate the flyover states is because they are classist. They also hate urban lower class. Thank you for that. Yes, they do. And hopefully people will realize that. But we really got to move on to the next story. So thank you so much. Oh, I got super chats too. God damn it. Let's bring those up really quick. Hold on a second. I just don't want to like forget them. Viewer activity. So Albatross gave us $5 and says $5 because I haven't donated in a while. Peace sign, devil horns, peace sign, heart, prayer hands, and dove. Thank you, Albatross. I gotta read the emojis because I don't know how else to put them up there.
Yeah.
Master Mo 316 Wrestling gave us €5. Thank you, and says, you know who would have been a better CEO? Brad's wife. Who's Brad? Albert Native Retro gives us $2 Canadian and says Pearl vomit face, and then he gives us $2 Canadian again and says Pearl vomit face. All right. Well, thank you for the super chows. And we're going to move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about that Italian thing that we talked about in the comments. Now let me just put where is the website? Okay, we go. Let's put this back up. Okay, so got a follow-up story for Alec Baldwin. Rust star Alec Baldwin filed 3 motions attempting to dismiss his manslaughter charge that he faces for the death of Helena Hutchins after allegedly firing a gun that killed her. One has since been denied. Baldwin's lawyers had argued that the prosecutors flouted the rules of the grand jury proceeds to divert attention from exculpatory evidence. His lawyers argued that these and other actions prejudiced the grand jury against Baldwin. Baldwin's legal team also argued that the prosecution did not follow proper rules regarding witness notification. Alex Spiro, lead lawyer for Baldwin's legal team, said that, quote, the way this is supposed to work is the grand jury's in a week. There's all these witnesses that could come, and you hit them with a subpoena, they come to the grand jury, or you have them on standby and you talk to them. This isn't how you're supposed to do it, period. According to Spiro, the witnesses never got their notifications. Special prosecutor Carrie Morrissey hit back at Spiro, saying that, quote, Mr. Spiro wants to say to this court this morning that I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. That I had no intention of ever presenting anyone over video. I'm not going to sit here and be called a liar, end quote. No additional court date has been scheduled yet as prosecutors responded to the 2 additional pending motions to dismiss on May 21st.
If you want your court case to be recognized as fair and an example of due process being used, being exercised, and provided for the defendant, and so therefore the verdict is fair and can't be challenged, you follow procedure, you follow the rules. So it's not good that this is happening, and I hope they get it settled. That's basically the main thing I have on this. A defendant is going to take every angle they can take to get out of any kind of legal responsibility for something that they've been accused of. And it may be that they're innocent, it may be that they're guilty, but if there's even a technicality that lets them stop the prosecution or take away part of the prosecution's case or anything, they're going to use it. So in a situation like this, where you're dealing with somebody famous who is kind of supported by the establishment because he's supported the establishment and so on, you really get your ducks in a row. There should be no mistakes. And it looks like there are mistakes happening. If what he's saying is true. So it'll be interesting to see what the ruling is on all of these and what further reporting comes out on them, whether or not this prosecutor is actually failing to follow important rules or whether that's not true.
All right. Well, I don't really have anything to say to this other than, like, good luck. I don't think Alec Baldwin's getting out of this one though. Let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next story. What is Hagmaxxing? Have you heard about this? Anybody's heard about this Hagmaxxing thing that is all the rage, all the conversation right now? Let's take a look. Okay, Hagmaxxing. The term Hagmaxxing has recently gained attention on social media. And this is right here from the Daily Dot, but it's also been on Lad Bible. So you could tell that this is totally legit, but people have been talking about it on various social media and on TikTok and such. So it's important to note, though, this is not a genuine trend. What it essentially means, it is meant to evoke the idea of looks maxing, which is called Hagmaxxing, but it's essentially Zoomer men dating millennial women or older women. And there is like it comes from the idea of younger men dating older women. This trend spread quickly on platforms like Twitter and TikTok, causing confusion and frustration among users who believed it to be real. Although I do think there is something to it. So essentially what I believe is happening, and I think this is why I'm mentioning this, there's always been cases where men, like, it's basically just cougars. It's just like older women dating younger men. So why is this happening? And I think this is a good thing to bring up. Well, here's my theory. It's a couple of things going on. One is, we know that Gen Z women and Gen Z men's values have split like precipitously. Women have gone, like young Zoomer women have gone far left, and young men have gone slightly right. Like, and I mean, if you look at the data, we've talked about it on the show before, men are not going far right. I know that the media will tell you they are. They're not. It shows that they're just moderately going right. And a lot of it has to do with, I think, social media, the stuff they're seeing on social media. I have noticed that there's a lot more pro-male content floating around Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And it's things like, you know, the whatever podcast clips that go viral, the man on the street things, you know, people talking about like dating and such. And Zoomer women they seem to be too much hassle. So these Zoomer men might be taking an interest in millennial women, which I think is not a good thing, because millennial women are pretty crazy. But then there's another side of the coin. It could be that millennial women, because they waited so long and they're not finding men, are choosing to date younger men. Or they may even have like an interest, like a sexual fetish for younger men. And I do think this is actually something that is happening to some degree. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but they're calling it Hagmaxxing. Yes. I think it's funny, and I hope it's real, because I think it's funny.
Well, the fact that it appears to have been
like a 4chan thing.
Yeah, 4chan. I mean,
yeah.
Yes, cougars exist. And yes, there are also guys that like women who are older than them as opposed to women their own age. Yes, there are male versions of cougar, and we have in our society a much less flattering name for them.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, there's not equal treatment of the matter. But in my opinion, if you're an adult, the age difference between adults who are dating other adults does not translate into something like pedophilia or any of the other allegations that get made against men who like women that are in their 20s, or who think pigtails are cute, or who and any other sign of being young prefer women with smaller breasts, or any of those things, right? So I'm not going to condemn women who like the same things in younger men who are stronger, men who are healthier, and all that stuff, for being quote unquote pedophiles, because it's bullshit. But what I will point out is, when there's a massive age difference like that, there are vulnerabilities on both sides, right? And there are also, I guess you could say, neuroses on both sides. You have to watch out if you're dating somebody and there's a big age difference. If you're the much older person dating someone who's much younger than you, You might be dating somebody with mommy or daddy issues, or you might be the person trying to substitute that relationship for the type of caregiving relationship you would have with your kid. And so you kind of have to pay attention to your dynamics of your relationship and how you're treating each other. It doesn't mean that people can't have those relationships, but it does mean that, you know, you do have to exercise a little more caution in that type of a relationship when there's an age space like that than you would in a relationship where you're close to the same age, you have close to the same level of experience in life, and you don't have the possibility that, you know, I mean, you can still baby somebody your own age. You know, I did that. I had to get out of a relationship because I was turning into his mommy instead of his partner, and I was holding him back in ways that were really, really dysfunctional. And then at the same time, I was getting frustrated myself, right? And his last fiance had done that before me. They got married, and then they got divorced over it. So, like, it's not, I'm not gonna say that it's the big deal people make it out to be. It's just a matter of, you know, you got to go into it like any other relationship. Be aware of how you're treating the person that you're with and how they're treating you, and try to make it about the people that you are and not about the things that you have been missing in your lives with the rest of your family.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I noticed that a lot of people on social media are like, you know, I'm proud. I'm looking in the thing and say, I officially claimed the title of a Hagmaxxer. We used to call that a MILF hunter, like before. Proud Hagmaxxer here. But I think the term Hagmaxxer really upsets women. So I think it's just a troll. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's funny though. So before we move on, are you guys, is anyone in the chat Hagmaxxing or MILF hunting? Let me know in the comments if you partake of the aged variety of cheese. Are you a granny grabber? Let us know in the comments. Oh, by the way, as an aside, I think it's one of the reasons why I think this is like kind of funny is that feminists are saying things like this. Petronella Wyatt says, and this is from April of this year, feminism has left middle-aged women like me single, childless, and depressed. So imagine a trend of Hagmaxxers and still the feminist women not getting picked. So because they were feminists, I mean,
the rest of us pick-me's because they didn't get picked and they're mad about it.
Yes, exactly. All right.
I didn't wait around to get picked. I picked him.
Why would you wait? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this is for those of you guys who are into the ara. There you go. All right, let's get into the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're in the last story. I tried to make this one short, you know. So, and there wasn't much going on today. You probably saw this viral video going around, and I thought we would like quickly comment on this. So this is Elizabeth Teckenbrock. Did you see this, Hannah?
Yeah. You want me to be quick? Because I actually have a lot of things to say about this.
Oh, I'm sure that you do, but I want to I'll read the write-up. No. I mean, I'm saying as a show, there isn't like a lot of like heavy news, but this was going around, and the way that, well, you know, let me just read this, but all I will say is the internet was pretty divided, but it was divided in a certain way that I think we all recognize, you know. So all right, so Elizabeth Teckenbrock, a 29-year-old from Tampa, Florida, recently went viral after posting a tearful TikTok video of herself baking her own birthday cake, highlighting the struggles of being a single mom. The video has amassed over 45 million views. However, her ex-husband Andrew responded with claims challenging her portrayal of single motherhood. Cormier is Andrew's last name. Cormier, who claims to have full custody, he shows actual like receipts of full custody of their two daughters, accuses Teckenbrock of rarely seeing their children and frequently going out. to the club. He also revealed her past arrest for fraud, confirmed by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Tackenbrock responded, admitting that she does not have custody, but alleging Cormier's abusive behavior. She claims she still sees her children regularly and criticized the custody agreement made under duress. Oh, there's that old chestnut. On social media, reactions have been mixed. Supporters of Tackenbrock praise her vulnerability and resilience, and critics accuse her of misleading her followers about her parenting situation. By the way, she was also $21,000+ in child support, like behind on child support. That was also worth pointing out. I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
The revelations have sparked discussions.
That much arrears would be in jail.
Yeah, for sure. The revelations have sparked discussions about the complexities of custody battles and the authenticity of social media portrayals. So here are the reactions. Support for Tackenbrock. There's a lot of women, mostly. They expressed empathy for her emotional struggles, and they basically gaslit her into the stratosphere. Criticism, some users accuse her of misrepresenting the situation, especially after her ex-husband's counter video. Debates on custody and abuse. The incident has fueled broader discussions on the challenges of co-parenting, domestic abuse allegations, and the impact of social media on personal disputes. This situation underscores the often hidden complexities behind viral social media posts and the importance of considering multiple perspectives in personal conflicts. But another thing I want to point out is that she tried to just say he was a Scientologist and thought that was like an argument, provided no evidence of anything, just said Scientology. And some people actually were like, well, that changed. I was like, well, but based on what? What does that even mean? She still fucked him. She still had kids with him. Like, I really don't like this. He is a blank and then insert religion or cult here. And that means something. Like, that's not an argument. You still had sex with him. You still married him. You still had kids with him. So anyway, Hannah, I give it to you.
Yeah, I wonder how many people who have changed their outlook on this on the basis of, oh, he's a Scientologist, have changed their outlook on the Danny Masterson case based on.
Right, I know. I got the same thing. Like,
Scientologists.
Well, them Scientologists sure are crazy. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with the allegations.
Yes.
Where's
the evidence? So
yeah.
The first thing that struck me about this case was the fact that she filmed herself, and this is something I think I'm not always a big fan of Matt Walsh, but he pointed this out. This woman, and I'm going to say it fairly similar to the way he did, right? She set up for that shot, framed it to catch what she wanted to frame in it, and then performed for the camera. And then she took the time to take the video, to watch the video, stop the camera, watch the video, edit the video, and then post it. Right? That was calculated. That was not something this poor woman was trying to show you something, and this is what came out of it, and she posted it anyway. No. This was her whole gig, and she did it for views. She did it not for sympathy, not even to get a discussion going about an issue or anything like that.
Right.
She added music, right? She added music designed to make it even more emotional. Right? She added music designed to pull on your heartstrings. And then she posted it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But both.
Well, it wasn't just that. If you watch it, it's edited. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
So there's that. That's the first thing. And I responded to that initially with, what kind of a person over the age of, say, maybe 20, 21, maybe 25, because 25 is like your quarter of a century mile marker, right? But anybody older than that, getting that upset about not receiving a birthday cake from someone else, having to bake your own birthday cake. Oh, big whoop, whack, call the ambulance. All right, I don't even think people older than that should really be caring about their birthdays that much. Like, you can celebrate your birthday. I celebrate my birthday in my head. I'm happy about it. I celebrate it twice, in fact. Like, in 2022, I turned 50. In 2023, I turned 30. The difference is the second number was how many years I am past the date that I wouldn't have been here anymore. Right. So I have 2 birthdays every year. One for how old I am and one for how many years it's been since I didn't die. And that's a personal thing that I don't expect anybody else to be like, oh yeah, it's been this many years since you were 21. You got this many extra years. But those, I think of those as my extra years, right? I've got more extra years than I had years that were allotted to me according to that doctor's assessment. And it lit a fire under my parents' butt, and I'm alive because of it. So it's a good thing, right? But none of it is something that you say, well, everybody has to think about that with me all the time. Everybody has to pay attention to that. Me, bake my cake, you know. And yeah, I am referencing something else there. Bake my cake. We live in a culture of narcissism at this point that is so crippling that this woman did that, and people didn't call her on it until somebody got annoyed, till one person got annoyed and said, what the fuck? Right? And not maybe in those terms, but still, like, that's what this is. The bottom line of this is she made her birthday about demanding sympathy for people because of her situation, because she feels sorry for herself, because she is a narcissist, which is probably why she is divorced. It has absolutely nothing to do, like, not that I'm a fan of Scientology, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Scientology. Christians don't like living with narcissists either. Atheists don't like living with narcissists. Nobody does. Right? Nobody who is not a raging narcissist can even deal with someone who is. And God forbid 2 of them get together in the same room, because you don't want to be in there.
It's kind of it must say something about her personality that the husband actually got the kids and child support. That is something, right?
Well, of course it is. Of course it is. That's not a simple thing to do, right? You have to go to court. You have to prove not only that you're a good parent, but that she's a bad parent. And a lot of times that she's dangerous to the kids or can't take care of them. Might be because she was in jail. You know, maybe he got custody because she was in jail.
She tried to steal like it was like fraud for like $1 million from some guy.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty big fraud. She shoots high there. Well, this is fraud too. Her video was fraud. Right? She's not upset about the birthday cake. She's upset about not being the center of attention. And the thing about her kids, I'll go there. She had an opportunity with her kids. Your kids can start baking cakes with you when they are old enough to stand on a stool and not fall off of it. That's all that it takes. And you just help the kid, you stand behind them, and you can reach around and help them do things, and so on. And I have a great memory of doing that with my son the first time, because it was back when everybody was watching Emeril Lagasse on TV. So everything we put in the bowl, he went, bam! And that was just priceless, right? So she could have created moments like that with her kids. She could have. I have childhood memories of that with my mom, like over 40 years ago, doing things like that with my mom. She's not making those memories with her kids. Maybe that's why she doesn't have custody. This is what her kids are going to remember about her birthday. They're going to find this online someday, and they're going to see it, and they're going to feel bad. You should never want that ever about your children. So I don't have any sympathy for this woman. I don't have any empathy for this woman. I think that she has caused all of her own problems. I think that she is a bitch for doing this to her children before we ever get to what she's doing to her ex-husband, right? Because this was an attack on him. but she's a bitch for doing this to her children before anything else it deserves any consideration.
Yeah.
Because they're children. They didn't marry her. They didn't make any mistakes. They were born. That was it. And so there's no stretch of any imagination by which you could say, well, they could have avoided this. No, they couldn't. They were born. They were born. That's their connection to her. Your children love you unless you do something to make them not love you. And so that's the first thing. The misrepresentation thing, I think it matters to people who are rational. It's not going to matter to feminists because they don't believe that it matters whether it's true or not when a woman makes allegations against a man. They don't think that matters. They think it matters that a woman made allegations and they want punishment handed out for that.
Yeah.
Right? So in regard to custody court and how domestic abuse allegations are used in custody court, I still stand by my consistent position throughout my time in the men's rights movement. Domestic abuse allegations should never enter into custody court unless they have gone through criminal court first and been resolved with an outcome. And if the outcome is that somebody has been found guilty of domestic abuse, then they can be considered in custody court, and only then. And the consideration is, does this conviction make the convicted parent a threat to the children? And if the answer is yes, then that should affect custody.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, so I got some Rumble rants that I missed from before, so I'm going to read them really quick because my Rumble rants don't show up in my Social Stream Ninja for some reason. So Blave Kaiser gave us $5. Thank you, Blave Kaiser. And I can't put a Rumble channel on the screen because it's in one of the plugins, so I'm sorry. And gives us $5 and says, just popped in to ask, would you rather share your feelings with a tree or a woman? Romanian V. Yeah, I saw that going around. Thank you for that. Did you want to?
Now you got to look at the live show chat.
Oh, I will. Let me see. Live show chat. What's in the live show chat?
The image that I just put in the live show chat.
This right here. I see. Yes, you shared this on
Twitter.
On Twitter, I remember that. Yeah. Men only. The scenario. Once you let her in, it's too big. You're stuck with her life. Potbelly pig or woman. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Is that Dworkin?
That is Andrea Dworkin.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, I could tell.
It's a screen. It's a small capture from an image from Wikimedia Commons, and it's been flipped so that it faces the pig because I want them facing each other. But that is Andrea Dworkin.
So it's a Gamorrean guard and Jabba the Hutt. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
It's, if you look at my X profile, you can find it. It's my top highlighted image right now, and I might actually make it my pinned tweet at some point, or the corrected version, my pinned tweet, because the one that's highlighted has a typo in it, and I replied to it with the one that doesn't have a typo. So.
Well, there you go. All right, and I got two more Rumble rants from Nova Fan. To both of them, he gave us $1 and says, "New lolicon meta. We're not into lollies. We're just hagmaxxing." and then Nova Fan gives.
You have to watch out for the whole lolicon thing because there are multiple states right now in the process of putting laws on the books that will outlaw lolly. They don't even if they're
6,000-year-old vampires.
Child porn. Right. They don't seem to be doing anything to protect kids who are actually under threat, kids who are being trafficked in the United States right now by people who are bringing them across the border illegally, but they want your cartoons off the internet.
Yep.
I don't really care about the cartoons one way or another, but that pisses me off because they're spending energy on that they could be using to actually protect real live, honest to God, thinking, feeling, living, breathing children.
All right, and I got one more super Rumble rant, from Nova Fan for $1. And he says, "Hannah, bake that cake." He's saying that you're saying that.
Cake.
Yeah, bake that cake. And then I think, let me see.
That's not related to baking.
No, I think I think it's a reference.
It's a reference to a Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh, of course it is. All right, then I got a super chow. Sorry, super chow from Telemnar for $50. Thank you, Telemnar.
Thank you. Come again.
And he says, let me see, for 50. The age gap difference is, in my opinion, a case of something that should not be illegal, but is probably not a good idea. I've seen people talk about this. I think a lot of younger men treat it as practice, and the older women are divorced or permanently single, so they just view it as an opportunity to have quick fun with no expectation of commitment. Ari, the single mother. That mugshot pic surprised me, but I am more surprised that something on social media is fake. Cakes are indeed easy to bake, lots of fun, so easy it almost feels like cheating for the more basic ones. Also, happy double birthday, Hannah. Feel free to save that one up for the right date. All right, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. And I think that's all the stories. So we're done. We're gonna head into the patron show now. And like I said, a little one, not a lot to talk about this week. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. So we're going to go into the patron show now and leave it up to the patrons to decide whether we will be looking at some feminist cringe, like this article from, let me put the article back up so you guys can see it. This article from some website called The Current, entitled How the Romantic Institution Props Up a Racialized Dating Landscape by feminist, or maybe he's a womanist because she's black, Deborah Herrick, or this article from Petronella Wyatt called Feminism Has Left Middle-Aged Women Like Me Single, Childless, and Depressed. And I also have a couple of other ones here that I thought were pretty good. Let me just put them on the screen for you guys since we got a minute. We have this one from Caitlin Moran. I forget her name, but she writes, this is actually the shit. This article is called Men Get Therapy, Not a Younger Girlfriend. And then we have this one from IGN. So you guys know the Furiosa movie came out this Memorial Day weekend, and it was a massive flop. It was like a record-breaking flop. On Memorial Day weekend, you're supposed to have like the biggest hits, and this film really underperformed. And I hear it wasn't actually a bad movie, but apparently nobody wanted to watch it. People got burned by Hollywood too many times. But nonetheless, IGN is trying to make the case, Furiosa, why the Mad Max movies don't need Mad Max anymore. That hasn't aged well.
Good grief.
We can either look at those or we can look at some clips. Let us know what you guys think. Join us in the patron show as a patron by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe, and you'll get a link to the Discord server where you'll be able to participate and watch all the additional content. So with that said, we're going to head into the patron show now. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. We really appreciate the comments. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage.